Thinking of getting an Esee JG3, huh? Good choice. Need a good companion knife for some food prep? A partner for some physical activity. It's great for those everyday pesky cutting tasks. Whoa! Easy there, champ, it can't do everything. Let's take a look at some of the things your new knife can do, and a few things your JG3 won't do.
Felling large timber. While this well-made, tough little blade seems sturdy, there are some limits to what it can do. Look at this poor farm boy, he's so tired. Some things should be left to the bigger guys, little fella.
Someone seems to have caught a case of the biggies. An overinflated sense of self-confidence can lead to reckless behavior. Seems old Jack's at it again. Let's stop him before he gets hurt. And finally, your knife will not turn your water into... Whoa! Seems this knife is full of surprises. Let's check in with old Jack, get his thoughts on this knife.
How's it going, guys? So today we are looking at a fixed blade, and it's going to be the Esee JG3. This is the Camplore series designed by Mr. Gibson. This is the 1095 Black Oxide edition. Now initially when I was going to do this video, I was going to do it as a comparison video between the JG3, that's how you don't take care of your knives, and the JX6 from Bark River. So two great companion knives. But as I was shooting the video, I realized that they're similar enough to do a comparison, but they're different in their own right. So it started out as a comparison video, and then just kind of went into just a full-on review of this knife. You'll see, if you've ever seen my JX6 video, you'll notice a lot of the test footage, almost side by side, is going to be the same, and that was part of that. So maybe I'll throw some of that up in there. It's just a side by side, but we're going to just pretty much focus on this, and maybe we'll touch on this knife. This is a great knife, by the way, guys. I love this. One of my favorite fixed blades. But let's focus on this. This was sent to me by Journeywind Junk. He is a fellow knife and gear reviewer. He reviews some stuff over at journeywindjunk.com, and then he writes for some gear and knife guys. So I'll link some of that stuff below. This was also reviewed by Mr. Advanced Knife Bro. So as you can see, it is still in one piece, and held up pretty good to some of his testing and some of mine. A little asterisk is going to be in there, as always. So we're going to go throw in a quick spec check, go in some of the pros, the things that are just kind of so-so about it, and touch on one bad point, and then we'll just throw in some test footage and kind of get my overall thoughts and opinions. So let's throw in a spec check and then get started. Alright, so going into the pros of this knife. Well, it is an Esse, and the number one thing about owning an Esse is that warranty that they have. Probably the best warranty in the knife industry. Essentially, if I was to take this and go baton a steel I-beam with it and it was to break in half, Esse would essentially send me a new one. That might be in their little terms and conditions. Don't do that. So actually just, don't do that, but you get the idea. The other good point about this is just going to be the size as a companion knife. That's what this is. This is not going to be your overall, felling large timber wood processing knife, but this is a good companion knife. There's a great size for it. Going into the next point would be the ergonomics for a knife this size are great. In my teeny tiny hands, you can see there is still a little bit of real estate down at the end there. So this will fit a good range of hands unless you have like an extra large hand. This might be a little small and cramped, but I still even think that would serve you well. So speaking of the ergonomics, that's going to wrap into this handle here. I really am digging this canvas micarta. Really grippy stuff. As I was testing it, I was really impressed with, just as I said, this started out as a comparison video. You can see this is smooth, and this kind of gets its ergonomics and your grip from the blade or the handle shape. You can see it's kind of got the Coke bottle thing going on. So that really locks in with that. This relies on materials and a little bit of the contouring on the handle. So I really dug this as a handle material while I was doing my testing. Did really good. I love the looks of it. I know it's not flashy or anything like that, but it kind of harkens back, I think, a little bit to like old style knives. This isn't a flashy knife by any means. If you go over function over form, this right here is a great handle. So they did a really good job on that. So going into the next point on just the way it was made and everything like that, this is a USA made blade. That's always something that is nice to have in the tools that you use and the products that you buy. And it's in a fairly good price range if you want to buy American made. You know, $10.95, great warranty. This rolls in at about $120. So for that price, I think with what you're getting, the $10.95, this micarta handle, that super great warranty, I think that's actually it's a pretty good package that you're getting. Nice little trifecta. You're also getting, with it being made in the USA, you're getting a leather sheath. And I'm a pretty big fan of the sheath. I was not at first because, you know, I thought the way it was, the Bark River, like I said, not a comparison video, but the Bark River is just a little more polished and refined around the edges. And I thought, you know, this would be the sheath that I would like more. But as I wore this sheath, I'm going to kind of put in some footage right now of it being in the pocket, I guess, actually more like on the hip. As I wore the sheath, it did a really good job of not riding super close to my leg. It's not a dangler, it's got a belt loop, but you can see as I'm moving my arm back and forth, the knife doesn't get in the way of my arm or my movement. And this was one of the few fixed blades that I actually wore all day when I was doing my testing, and I didn't even know it was there. If you are going to use this as a companion knife, one of the things you might want to pull it out every once in a while if you don't want to pull out your big knife. You know, you want to use this as your fire making knife. It is a smaller knife, so maybe that's what you want to go for. This does have a nice 90-degree spine that works great for ferro rodding and fire making, unless you're a Jackfarmboy and you haven't done it in a long time and it took you 10 minutes to get everything going and reshoot it 3 times. May or may not have happened. So I'm going to roll in some of that test footage of me making the fire. This has a high flat grind. It's not a full flat grind, but it works pretty good for getting everything going, making your little fire sticks and your fire pile. I'm using as my tinder, I used a milkweed pods. If you got milkweed pods in your area, great fire making material. But I eventually do get the fire going, and you know, striking it was great. I tried striking it a couple different ways and all around. So really good on the spine and just the layout of the knife. So big wins on that. Some of the Sosos on the knife, we're going to move into some of the Sosos. Like I said, this eventually ended up not being a comparison video, but Sosos are going to be things that are not deal breakers, and they're essentially just nitpicks on things that kind of might make you feel kind of about the knife. So one of the things on this is going to be the fit and finish a little bit. As you can see, these handle scales kind of change where they line up and where they lay out. So like back here, let me get in on that. You can see it's going to sit, the spine's going to sit a little bit higher there, and then down here it's a little more flush, and then you come down in here and actually the handles stick a little bit up. And I bet you if I loosen these up, I can kind of adjust them as I wanted to, but you do have a little bit sticking right here. Like I said, that's a so-so. That's just something I noticed, that somebody who is, you know, who loves their Bark Rivers, they gets a handle like this, you know, where everything is just nice and lines up and flush all the way around. This is a removable handle, so you're going to not have that quite as tuned in. But that's one of the so-sos. And the last little so-so that I had on this knife was just, there's no jimping on here. And generally that's okay. And I usually, you know, that's not something I'm going to be breaking the bank over or making a big fuss about. But I did know as I was doing some push cutting on it, my thumb was tending to slide up just a little bit on there, and not a big deal. I'm not slipping and the knife's not cutting my hand open, but it was something I wouldn't mind. I like the 90-degree spine, so no jimping on the spine, but I wouldn't mind if it like a little bit of file work or just some jimping back here. So if I wanted to come back, I could lock in. I mean, that was really it. So going into the bad on this knife. Man, you know, when you get somebody else's gear, you always want to do your best to test it, but take care of it. Advanced Knife Bro batoned with this. He did all the things, and it did great. And then Jackfarmboy gets it. He does his testing. Things go great. And then he gets his camera out to shoot the final review, and he screws it up. Yep, I screwed this knife up more than what they did, and it only took me 3 seconds of pulling my camera out. And I'll show you what happened. And that ties into the bad point of this knife. And the bad point is, I guess we'll talk about the bad really quick, is your sheath retention. So I'll put in another clip here. This is me doing jumping jacks with a knife on my hip because I was worried about the blade retention. So you can see here it's a little kind of loose coming in and out. So here I am doing jumping jacks, and you know, I was like, oh, okay. I guess it does stay in the pocket if you wear it on your, or stay in the sheath if you wear it on your hip and you do it properly. Cool. But alas, as I was setting my camera up, I turned around to grab the knife, it fell out of the sheath, shoot in my basement. Let's take a look here at the old tip. Now, I didn't flatten the tip, but I did tip it on the concrete, and it got just a little bit of that that flattened tip thing going on right now. Let me see if I can get a little bit closer. So I'm going to let Mr. Journeyman Junk know that that has happened and see what he wants to do about that. But so one of my concerns that I had written down on the bad was just the sheath retention. And lo and behold, this knife was like, hey, man, you're right, look. And he jumped to his tip's demise. So that, let me focus back. That was one of the bad things that I noted about this knife, and it proved me right. So unfortunately, that was kind of disappointing in the 11th hour to have that happen to it. But I'm gonna throw in some other stuff. We're gonna move on. So those are the pros, the so-sos, and the bad, and we'll just kind of move on to some cutting tests that I did with this. So what I did with this is I did some initial kitchen prep. Cutting up veggies, the old Cedric and Ada cheese test, and the flat grind did okay on the cheese, not quite as good as the JX6 when I did it, which has a Saber Vex grind, which I thought the flat would be a little bit better, but I think just that kind of wedge shape of the JX6 helps push through the cheese when there's resistance. And then I did the old-fashioned, if you can skin a boot, you can skin a buck test, which is where I just take a knife and I essentially break down a boot from the top to the bottoms just to see if there was any issues. And actually, with the JG3, I thought I had a little bit of an easier time going through the boot from all the way from front to back and through the rubber of the sole. So, just a little side note: if you're gonna skin a boot, go with the JG3. If you're gonna cut cheese, the JX6. So, just going back into this knife, a few more notable things. The 1095 did need a little bit of I hit it on the rod and kind of stopped it for a second just to get it back to that paper cutting sharp, and now it's back. So I guess it could be considered a plus that the 1095 is easy enough to sharpen this, but it does have high toughness. Another knife might have fared a little bit worse than what this one did with that little bit of a flattened tip on the concrete. But moving on past that and just kind of looking at the knife overall in the bigger picture of everything that you're going to get on this knife, I really enjoyed my time with this knife. This is a great knife. I would say, the ergonomics, the form and the function of this knife, I really like, just side note, let's backtrack a little bit. Just got this nice sweep across the top here. But $120 is well worth it, especially with that warranty you're getting with Esse's. The only thing I would just say, if you're going to get this knife, don't hang the sheath upside down and give it a little bit of a shake. That would be about it. Very happy to have had it. It was the only fixed blade I've ever EDC'd all day and just kind of forgot that was there. It was super handy to have on the hip. I'm really, really digging how this carries and just how lightweight it is. So, yeah, overall, guys, really impressed with the So overall, guys, maybe I could cut that out, maybe I couldn't. So overall, guys, I'm really impressed with the JG3. Very happy to have had it on the channel and put it through its paces. This one is a win. So if you're looking for a small companion knife with made in the USA, great warranty, best warranty out there, Esee JG3 is probably a good choice for you. Alright guys, thanks for watching. We're going to be doing the giveaway video next. We got answers with Alistair coming up. He got all the little questions answered, so we'll be checking that out really soon. But here we go, guys. This is the end. Thanks for watching. We'll see you really soon. Have a good one.